when making decisions. Making a balanced decision is one of the most difficult aspects of being a leader. When I use the term balanced, I'm referring to several conditions and factors that should be considered in any major decision. They include such key terms as choices, consequences, factual data, emotional quotient, and business outcomes. For example, a decision to close an outdated factory employing 2,000 people in a small community instead of modernizing it is a decision that has many consequences for those employees, their families, the community, its local businesses, and the nonprofit organizations that serve that community. Typically, such decisions are made using the business outcome indicator as the dominant factor. And so, how do you as a leader step outside your comfort level and consider other factors that are really foreign to your basic decision-making process? Here are a few key heart and mind factors that you should consider when making decisions. From the perspective of the heart, I would encourage you to include these 5 factors. Company values, people, customers and employee loyalty, public opinion, and lastly, innovation. From the perspective of the mind, I would encourage you to include 5 different factors, and here they are. Strategic planning, competition, knowledge management, value creation, and business results. As you can see from these 2 lists, they represent 2 very different spheres of the organization, and yet they appropriately balance each other. Having studied the art of decision-making closely for the past 15 years, I know that the best decisions are made by leaders who consider the heart as well as the mind. In the final analysis, when you make difficult decisions, it requires a balanced approach between the heart and mind. I hope today's session will not only help you better understand how to make decisions, but also to help you make better decisions that contribute to a more successful organization. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. We'll now continue with our second question and answer session, and we have a fax question from Cuba, from Siena Internet. This caller says, I have worked with a company that has problems addressing the true root causes of problems. Do you have any suggestions to help us gather better data to address the real root cause problem?
Well, Peter, I think in response to that particular question, I think the difficulty in arriving at the right decision has to do with getting good data and information so that you truly understand what's causing the problem. So if your data gathering mechanism is flawed, the chances are you're going to come up with the wrong response or an inadequate response. So I would suggest 2 things. I would say, first of all, it's very important that you have a broad-based data gathering system, whether that's through trade associations, competitors, or just the input of your employees to help arrive at a better decision. I think the second thing is, in this age, the internet is a wonderful tool to help you arrive at information that will impact the decision and help you get at a true root cause of a particular problem. So that would be my short answer to a very good question.
And how do you prevent employees from just having employees tell you what they think you want to hear?
Well, the challenge in having employees tell you what you think they want to hear is that comes about as a result of a closed culture. In other words, if you have the kind of organization that encourages free thinking, encourages new ideas, encourages that intuitive spirit that we talked about earlier, people are going to be more comfortable at sharing their original thoughts. But if you are a command and control type person, as we just saw in that segment on the controller, what's going to happen is you're going to force individuals to give you the response that they think you want to hear, and that's very deadly to the success of a company.
Excellent. We now have a caller calling from Puebla, Mexico, from the Universidad Tecnológico de Tecamachalco. Come in, please.
Sí, muchas gracias. Muy buenos días.
With regard to the different leadership styles, can one person have the same styles at the same time, or adopt that style which is better for that person in a certain situation? Thank you very much.
Okay. The question deals, of course, with your style and whether or not you can change or alter your style depending on a situation. I think what's important to remember in this question is that when you saw that circle of the controller, promoter, analyst, and supporter, each of us has a little bit of each of the 4 different personality traits. So it's not uncommon for any individual, let's say, who's a promoter, to also have a little bit of the analytical skills as part of their natural personality makeup. But I think it's also very difficult for an individual who's a promoter to try to fake it to be perceived as an analyst, because the traits are so different that you can't try to be one thing when in fact you're a different style. Even though you possess a little bit of that, I think it's important you just be yourself and look to others to help you fill in where you might have a missing component or certainly need to support more of the analytical attributes in that particular example.
Okay, I think we have another caller from Mexico, from the Instituto Tecnológico in Sabrinas, Coahuila. Come in, please.
Sí, bueno.
Hola.
Mi pregunta es si para las empresas actualmente.
My question has to do, for example, for currently in businesses, do they give the same importance to decision makers that act with their mind and with their heart as well, or what's the balance between the two currently in today's enterprise?
So which wins, mind or heart?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think traditionally, and this comes out of the MBA type thinking of most business schools, I think the problem is that the emphasis traditionally has been more the intellect than the heart. But I think that's shifting, and the reason it's shifting is because people understand that you need a balance of both in today's world. And I think also that psychologists are beginning to make the point that people think emotionally first. We buy emotionally. When you go buy a car, think about it for a second. That's an emotional buying decision. Buying a home is an emotional buying decision. Now, you may say that you want 4 wheels and a motor and something that's going to have a good maintenance record, but the fact is, you buy the sex appeal, the emotion of a car. You don't buy the engine. You don't buy necessarily just because of gas mileage. So I think the emotional decision is becoming much more significant in the business place as well as in our personal lives.
We talked before about women's intuition. Is the increasing prevalence of women in the workforce legitimizing intuition and alternative ways of thinking more so than the largely masculine organization that we were at one time?
Is this a trick question?
No, it's not.
I have to be careful here. But yes, I think the advent of women in the workplace since the mid-'70s has given a tremendous boost to the intuitive side. Now, that being said, I think women are also extremely logical. So there's a nice balance. And what happens is most people have a tendency in the workplace to say, well, if Judy is logical, maybe I'll be a little more emotional just to balance it out. And I think that's a very important aspect of how you react, especially if Judy's the boss. You can bring the emotional side to the workplace, and Judy, in this case, will appreciate that balance.
Okay, we have another fax question from Finalco Medellin in Colombia. And this listener says, in your decision-making matrix, you suggest that we want to make the right decisions. But as you stated, sometimes we're pressured to do the wrong thing. What advice can you offer me to confront her manager to help her make the correct decision?
Well, again, an excellent question, because what's happening here is because of the pressures to get things done in the organization, sometimes a manager will say, just give me the facts. We need to make this decision today. And while you may need to make that decision today, I think it's very important that you gather a broad base of facts. One of the ways that you can help the manager who is time sensitive slow down and make the right decision, the impatient manager, let's call them. One way that you can help them is to introduce some contrary facts or some data that helps them see things a little differently. Because if you just go along to support a decision, you're actually reinforcing the wrong information, even though it may lead to the right decision. So you have to be careful to be a balance there. You have to do it respectfully because you don't want to alienate the manager. But most managers that are impatient, like the controllers, and they want to make a decision right now, they value facts.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and so we're going to try to squeeze this one in. It's from Guanajuato, Mexico. Come in, please.
Buenos días. I'm calling from the university in Guanajuato, and my question is the following. For young students, for example, what is the best leadership in a teacher? And how can this teacher identify the different leadership spirits in his classroom?
I think, Peter, the best answer, and it's a short answer, is be natural, be inspiring, be a nurturing type of a teacher in the classroom. Students are so hungry for role models. What they want is somebody that they can look up to. And it doesn't matter whether you teach from an intellectual or an emotional side, but try to give a balance in the classroom, because remember, you have both kinds of students in the classroom, but be natural and be inspiring.
And we know that enthusiastic and energetic teachers are the best teachers because they inspire their students.
Sure.
Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you so much for your excellent questions. We hope that you've enjoyed participating once again in this exciting multilingual, multinational program. We invite you to participate in the 6th program in this year's series, entitled Virtual Teams and Networked Collaboration, Human Competence and Appropriate Technology, which airs on the 5th of June. For additional information on this video conference series, please consult your participants manual, where you will find the dates and specific topics for each program. For more information, you may visit our website, itc-group.org. On behalf of all of us, muchas gracias. I thank you for your participation in this ongoing series that we have gotten you involved in. Thank you so much.
gracias.